Hello and welcome back to the Way to Native Chronicles, and today we're going to do something a little bit fun. Got this whitetail deer the other day, and I want to butcher this thing up. So what I'm going to do is show you how to butcher a hind leg of a deer, and I'm going to try to do this as best I can. It's outdoors conditions, it's kind of cool out, but I think some of you might benefit from this because a lot of people bring their game always to butcher, and I think really it's one of these things that you have to just try your hand at it, and once you do, then you'll always do it yourself. So let's get started. Okay, where should we start? Probably a good way to start is to get this extra hind leg, lower leg off this animal. So do that. It's handy to have a meat saw. There, no more leg. Okay, let's get to work here. What you're going to want to do for this type of work, you can do any knife, but my favorite is one of these skinny, kind of bony knives. It might be even a fish fillet knife for all I know, but I know this is the shape that I like. It's kind of got a very sharp point on it and a thin blade. You can really whittle around to get around the bones and stuff like that with it. So I call it a bony knife, regardless of what its origins were. And you want to periodically sharpen this thing up. It's really important to have a sharp knife when you're butchering. So I haven't touched this thing up for a while, I don't think, so just better make sure it's good. Now, when it comes to butchering an animal, I'll tell you quite frankly, I'm no expert on this. I'm just self-taught, and the reason I can do this is not because I've memorized any diagrams on where the muscles are and stuff. I just know how to explore around and just follow the breadcrumbs wherever they lead, and that's essential to this. You don't really have to know anything. You just have to know a few of the principles about seams in the meat. Like, you're going to have groups of muscles making up a hind leg like this, and they will be separated by seams that you can find very easily, and it's key to be able to pull at the meat and try to expose those, and then just start wherever it's the easiest and follow from there. So, you know, when I'm looking at this guy here, I'm going to rotate it around a little bit, and I'm going to see if I look here, I've got a seam, so I could just start right away. I'll just really, it's a matter of following the easiest course all the time, whatever you're doing in butchering. I think here we've got this little odd bit around the joint, so that's going to be a little bit of an anomaly. But you're going to take this, and you can see that there is a bit of a seam there. Okay, and I'm going to follow that seam wherever it leads me. Or I might, if it gets difficult there, I will just find another seam, because quite often you're working with one area. Like, I can see the connecting tissue here. Oops, there I kind of cut through a piece. But I can see where the connecting tissue is. So I'm going to always go where it's clear. If it becomes unclear where I should go, then I'm going to move somewhere else and find an easier spot. So you see here, I'm starting to get confused a little bit, that's okay. You know, if you're unsure, just give it a good rip. Okay, I'm gonna. There. So now that I'm pulling it apart good, I can see there's where the seam is. See that there? As long as I'm pulling apart really good, I just ripped at it with my hands to get this part to expose itself. As you can see, well, and then when you get to this part here, it's okay, folks, we're gonna get this. See, as I'm cutting through here, I'm not sure where it's going to end up here. So I'm going to cut down to the bone here, and I just might, see, I can find all kinds of little seams here, right? There's going around that bone. Maybe I should just get this piece right off of there. Now when you're doing this cutting, always have a mind to your knife, because it's very easy to cut yourself. So always cutting away from your hands. Okay, I'm going to just take this little piece off of there. And I've actually explored up this area a little bit. Well, actually I can keep on exploring. I'm going to open this up a little bit. Really helps when you have a sharp knife. Okay, see, this piece is basically not going anywhere, so, but it does help expose what's going on here, perhaps, eh? Can you tell that I'm an amateur? Okay, I know the bone is running here, so I can take that off a little bit. Yeah. Oh yeah. You can see here. So as I'm pulling it apart, the key is to have lots of pressure against it as you're doing this, right? It's actually quite fun. See, once you find a seam, then you get on a run, eh? Say, oh, okay, I know exactly now where I'm going. But I could have started from the other side doing this too, just as easily, probably. Or if it wasn't panning out on the other side, I would have turned over to this side. Okay, now, what's happening here is we're getting alongside the bone a little bit. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'll remind you again, I'm just a guy that knows absolutely nothing about muscle structure, or close to nothing anyways. Okay, so I'm gonna, you see that, how I'm giving a little force to it. Now it's just coming off clean from the bone. There. Okay. I can come along like this. Now I could just slice this, but I have a feeling that this is, so it doesn't hurt to turn around, take a look at where you're going, but I could just kind of keep on going along this bone too. Yes. Right. Now once you get to the knee, everything gets wonky, so not to worry. Okay, so I'm going to just skin around the bone a little bit, or skin. Everything's skinny for me, I guess. Okay, now when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing there is a bit of a seam. And it's all because I'm pulling on it, eh? Wherever you see that little white connecting tissue, then you know you've got seams for muscle group. Now, this is kind of interesting. I'm just going to come. This has always been my rule of thumb. Whenever you're unsure about where you're going, you'll just keep on going. Here, take a look on the other side. You know, everything looks different then. So what I can do is I can take this. Oh, look at that, see? I'm just gonna open that right up. Maybe give it a little better view here. What's going on? See, I just turned this over and I gave this a pull. And look at that. Well, that's what I like to see, right? I like to see that connecting tissue like that spread around. Because once I start separating it, everything starts to work out by itself. Oh yeah. So there we go. There, that's a nice piece coming off of there, see? There's a nice piece, nice muscle group. I think this piece is going to have to come separate from there, but if I'm not sure what to do there, I'll just come along this way and it'll all come clear. Whoops. There we go. Okay. There we go. There's a nice chunk of meat there. Now, this guy here, I could easily take that and there's probably a seam in here. Maybe not. I think there is. Yeah. So you tend to do this stuff later. You can see, like, I can see there's a seam there. I can follow that. So you got to be gentle, not force things too much. And when you just lightly stroke that knife blade, then things start to come apparent. So I'm just taking a little break from the major stuff here. I'm going to take this guy off. Okay, so there's two pieces. My wife is gonna clean off all this mess later on. As you can see, we're getting somewhere. Now, what I would really like is to get this apart here. Let's see here. Okay. I'm gonna take. You know what? I think I'm just gonna take this guy right through here. Okay, and there's another piece for you. So hopefully you're getting some sort of an idea on this. Now here, okay, so on this knuckle, then I have to there's a lot of bone and cartilage here, so I'm just going to skin away from that. And I'm hitting down to the bone here. when your knife touches bone, that's when it gets dull right away. Butcher's knives are not known for being really hard. So let's just give this thing a little touch up. This making any sense to you? Like, I swear I don't know what I'm doing, so the reason I'm telling you that is that if I can do it, then anybody can. Now, see, I'm really kind of unsure, but when you get to this knuckle part, you sometimes have to just kind of go right through. There, you can see, once I've done that, now all of a sudden, everything's becoming clear. There. Taking it off right to the bone. I'm not wasting any meat here, right? That's good. Yeah. So there's actually kind of two stages to this. I'm taking off muscle groups right now, and I mean muscle groups. That's the idea with this, is there are groups of muscles, and once you have them taken down, then you can start separating the muscles within that group. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that in this video. I just want to get the main thing is how to get it largely butchered. But you know, like, I could spend a lot of time, and I will, on separating these various muscles from their respective groups they belong to, right? So you can see here, I've got this large group of muscles, and there is a muscle that's part of that. So I can just, as long as I give it attention, I can just find my way along, right? It's quite fun. So there comes off another piece, and if I'm looking for any others, really got to rip at it, eh? Like, actually, this one was sort of taken off there. I can get another group here, I think. If not, it's just going to be a bigger roast. Let's see here. I know this one is going to come. I don't think I'm going to take this one down anymore. I mean, like, you got to trim stuff a little bit. But the thing is, if you get the hang of doing this stuff, you'll find it's fun, and it'll save you a lot of money. You get always the cuts that you want, eh? See, this one here, I don't know. Maybe I should have left this little piece on, but there. So, just to give you an idea of what you can get here. Oh, see, there's quite a bit here too. Take it off. I'm going to get these little attachments off from the outside, cleaned up a little bit. Then my wife, after this is done, she will go and take all the silver skin off. So that's that shiny stuff on the outside. That's a membrane, and it makes it a lot more edible. It's quite time consuming to do that, but it since I don't do it and she does, it's great. And any coarse meat you got, you can just throw that in the grinder, make hamburger out of it, right? So there we got that. Now really, this whole front part is all done, right? And we just got this leg, so taking off. Now we can this lower part of the leg on deer is pretty coarse meat or stringy meat. So what I would do is, my wife usually insists on putting that in the grinder. So I'm going to just loosen it off from the front here first, from the joint. And if you're ever wondering where the joints, the seams are, just push your finger in there. See, I'm pushing my finger in there. I know there's a seam starting there. So I can just kind of go in there and cut. Separate that out just so nicely. You can see here, it's a little hard to share everything on the camera. I'm doing this all by myself, no independent cameraman. But you can see how this works, Want to get a little tension on here. Okay, we'll just take this guy. See, that shows roughly how it works, So now that I have this part here, I'm just gonna cut off that tendon. And these rough parts, what you want to do is keep them stacked separate. You don't want to mix them with your good ham parts, because this is going to be a coarse meat. So it's actually an important thing to keep in mind when you're doing this butchering. I have some buckets here where I'm going to put the good and the bad and the ugly in. So I'm going to keep the good ones. You really should have cleaned this meat off better in the field. I'm going to show you a video on how this was done, how we got this deer. Still got to work on editing it and stuff, but we shot it just before it got dark out, and it was quite cold. In fact, that's why I'm wearing this coat right now. It's quite cold out, so we had to get that deer done right away. And normally we would have just sat around, picked at it, and picked the hair off it, because it's so much easier to do that while the animal is where things are still wet. Once the animal dries and any fur that was on it touching the meat dries onto the meat, it's really hard to get. You have to pull at it and pick at it to get the hair off the meat. Do it when everything is still fresh and moist. It's much better. So what I'm doing here, this is just coarse meat. It can be used for stew meat. Use it in soups. Good for soups. Or if you have a grinder, you might want to grind it. This is one of the reasons why I'm using this skinny knife here, is as I go along, I don't know where I'm going necessarily, but my knife is letting me find the way. So I'm kind of taking off the front part there, and then going along here. These do not have to be cut really precise, these lower portions of the leg, because it is going to probably be ground up anyways. But, let's see here. I'll get this guy off. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that's another piece. We'll put that in the stew meat pile. And here's what we have is a leg with no meat left on it. So hopefully that makes some sense to some of you. When I look at this, thinking, this is a nice roast, and we cut it up and make it into steaks too. This one here, I think it could break it down a bit, but even still, it's good. It's good like this. Deer isn't a huge animal, but if you do break down the muscle groups into their separate muscles, then you can skin off that that silver skin off them and have less of that in your meal. But that's kind of a matter of your choice, what you want to do. But you can see that this didn't really take all that long. I would emphasize again having a good knife and have a sharpening steel. That's going to make a lot of difference. If you like, we can butcher this second leg now. So what I've got here is I've got these buckets for my good meat. Or I think this would go in there. Some of these little pieces, I'm going to put them in the separate. Maybe this over here. Actually, I should put this one for the good meat. And then this one looks like more of a scrap or a soup meat type, stew meat type bucket. So I'm gonna put that guy there, and now, and maybe we should get on to the second leg. Well, I probably shouldn't drag it on too long. I think you've got sort of a sense of how this is done. Hopefully, just go over it. I'm just going to tell you, look, the thing that I emphasize is just get your hands in there and pull it apart. And as soon as you see a little bit of film connecting muscles, that's what you go for with your knife, and you just start cleaning that up, and then you pull and you follow that where it goes. And before you know it, you've got that muscle carved out really nicely without going straight through fresh meat, but always following along the seams. If you don't know where you're going and you started on a seam and it's kind of getting confusing, and then just go somewhere else and start pulling that aside, and you'll find that by pulling that and working on that area, it actually loosens up the meat on the area that you were confused at before on where to go. And you start to see, oh, okay, it's obviously going this way, eh? So it's kind of hard to explain, but once you do it, you'll understand what I mean. So let's just wrap that up for now. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you're supporting this channel, because we just got some new camera equipment in here. This is a side note. I've got two cameras. I'm going to try to get them both to work together, because this kind of thing you want to have close-up shots. So I've hooked them together, and I have some editing software that's able to knit this stuff. So we'll see how that works. But really, the benefit of having two cameras is great. The new one is a Canon XA11, and I'm really liking it. The last video we got where we got this deer, I think it's going to turn out good. Even had to use the infrared setting on it. So. Appreciate your support, and from the Whitetail Native Chronicles, hope to see you again next time when we have something new for you. So until then, God bless.
이때 또 내가 끼히 캐고즈데 이끼히 나즈